This particular saloon, they had more than a dozen trapdoors there. Trapdoors have been covered from above with tiles, but from the basement, if you look up, they're still there. Hello. This gate belonged to August Erickson. So prohibition. The very first prohibition in the United States was in the state of Oregon. It began in 1844. It did not last long, but it did set the stage for a very violent temperance movement. The temperance folk were the people who would prefer to see you dead rather than drunk. Armed with their Bibles and hammers, we had a notorious temperance movement. While prohibition was official across the U.S. in 1920, it was official in Portland in 1916. Now, many of these establishments that served alcohol permanently closed off access to their entrances. You may have seen prohibition gates in other historical cities, New York, Chicago, San Francisco. But this particular prohibition gate, installed by August Erickson, who had multiple bars inside, this was all an act of smoke and mirrors. He had this elaborate, ornate gate installed to make everyone think that he wasn't serving alcohol inside of any of his other bars. That wasn't true, he was. But this particular gate, shutting off access to his burlesque club, I do wonder how long it took before the prim and proper citizens and visitors to Portland before they realized it was a woman. Sans clothing.
Got it.
Very creative with the grapes. Very creative. It's been here since 1916. He did serve alcohol in all of his other bars. He had one particular bar that was 684 feet in length, where 300 men could drink. He had at least a dozen trapdoors inside. Inside of, it's spiced now, but it was his burlesque club. If you walk in, you can feel where the trapdoors were. There are indentions in the floor. It's said to be very, very haunted. It was a notorious wild place. August Erickson did, however, die penniless and broke in Clackamas, Oregon. He didn't escape all of the fines and court fees from all of his bars because he was serving alcohol throughout Prohibition. This entire block is said to be extremely haunted. All right, so let's move on. So welcome to our next stop. Welcome to Electric Lettuce. This is one of Portland's cannabis dispensaries. Now, many of these dispensaries are located inside of historical buildings. This one at one time was a pharmacy. Some people argue that it is still a pharmacy. Now, lots of accounts from employees that many of our dispensaries are haunted. But all of our dispensaries have a few things in common. One of them being the advanced surveillance system that they are all required to have, recording every inch of the shop, including entrance and exits, every single day of the year, every second of the day. But every bit of that footage, the owners and employees do not have access to it because it is all controlled by the state of Oregon. It is also extremely illegal to tamper, alter, or manipulate this footage. We now have what some say is dozens of hours of seemingly paranormal activity caught on surveillance. I'm going to tell you how you can see this footage, but first I'm going to tell you about one of our employees that worked here. There was a woman named Scarlett who worked here for 2 years. She quite enjoyed working here, but she had her first paranormal experience in the shop on day 1. Through time, her experiences escalated. For an entire year, she opened up the shop. She had a routine. She would come in, go to the safe, grab supply, put it into the counter. When she would return to the safe, she would find a stack of 3 dimes sitting in front of the safe every time. Are you familiar with this anomaly? Sometimes called pennies from heaven, sometimes called coins from angels. So the theory is, when a spirit is trying to communicate with you, they will often leave you coins. And you will recognize it because the coins will always be in the same denomination. Maybe pennies, maybe dimes, in the same formation. Maybe a stack of 3 or 2 lined up, and usually in the same location, like in front of a safe. Now the passage of coins between the living and the dead, that is as old as time. You can look back at Sumerian texts, and it shows the passage of coins between the living and the dead. But if the dead are leaving coins for the living, one might ask exactly who is paying their respects. So Scarlett experienced this for almost an entire year, and then she started sharing her story out here with my guests. This went on for just a couple of weeks, because after she shared this story a few times, those dimes abruptly stopped appearing in front of the safe. That's only because Scarlett now finds those dimes at home, specifically in her bedroom. And this was 9 months ago when that happened here. I ran into her 2 weeks ago. She's still finding those dimes at home. Multiple employees have similar stories with finding dimes throughout the shop. More recently, we had a security guard. He was working end of the night. It was very quiet, but he heard what sounded like a lively conversation. He kept looking around. There was nobody here. So finally, he thought either I'm going crazy or I'm going to go look. So he knocked on the door, entered the room where he could look through the screen, showing the live footage as it was recording. When he looked through the screen, there were multiple ghostly apparitions standing where he had just been standing. He immediately quit, and he has not returned since. If you would like to see footage from inside this particular electric lettuce, go on YouTube. There is a fantastic paranormal YouTuber. He's out of the UK. He has a memorable, albeit silly name. He goes by Slapped, like Slapped Ham. Anybody watch any of the paranormal videos? He's great because he comes at it as a skeptic. He does a lot of compilation videos. So a lot of really good stuff. If you watch his Halloween 2021 edition, he features this exact electric lettuce. If you go online and do a search, you'll find a few clips to look at. You'll also find that our news media outlets have covered and done featured stories on Portland's haunted dispensaries. But last, if you would like to attempt to have your very own haunted dispensary experience, it's not that difficult. It is said that we have dozens of haunted dispensaries throughout the entire city. But your best bet is to visit any of the 15 electric lettuce locations. It is said that every single electric lettuce is profoundly haunted. And while some say it's just a big coincidence, others are not so convinced, as they have looked up here at the logo, specifically the rainbow. If you know about the Freemasons and their rituals and their Solomon's Key type magic, some might say that they might have an eye for locations that are said to be haunted. Our many haunted dispensaries. All right, we are going to head into Old Town for a few stories. So we are standing in Chinatown, but this was originally the North End. This is where the debauchery was permitted to take place. The opium dens, the bordellos, the brothels. So the drugs, the women, the alcohol, the illicit entertainment. When we cross Burnside, we're going to go where our fire station is, our police headquarters, the land where our public gallows once stood. We're going to where the law was, where the politicians and the business owners lived. These were two very different worlds. So let's head on over into Old Town. Watch your step here. Recently, did some blacktop work.